Hmm. Hmm. Sometimes when I reflect on our national life, I try sometimes to compare which season is the best, which season is the worst. I've mentioned on this program, and I will continue to say it, that what you fear most is dictatorship. But when dictators listen to the people and, bury their arrogance and yield to popular demand, sometimes you will now be asking, what forced the change of heart? And when you now see under democracy that you see supposedly Democrats block their ears to popular clamor, popular agitation, popular protest, keep on asking, this democracy, are we deepening it for the interest of the people? I mentioned on this program several times, and I'm continuing to say it, that the first post-Civil War budget in Nigeria was, by that time, the military we announced, and once they announced the budget, it becomes the start inventing. It has become budget. What they do, the only thing they do to the citizen is to go on radio and television and tell us this is the budget for the year. General Yakubu Gowon announced the 1971 budget. There was protest in the media, not even on the streets. A newspaper came out with an editorial that budget is not for Nigeria, that there was no component on rehabilitation of the damaged facilities, the damaged structures in the Southeast.
During the Civil War.
After the Civil War, the first post-Civil War budget. And the paper that did that time was Daily Times. Front page comment, withdraw your budget. That same day, Gowon withdrew that budget. And the next day, he provided the nation a fresh budget. That is a dictator.
That's a benevolent dictator.
So when you now have our lawmakers elected by the people to serve the people, representative of the people, and they block their ears to popular clamor, to popular yearning, it's a sad day for Nigeria. It's not a thing to celebrate. It's not something we should applaud. What the lawmakers in Nigeria did yesterday is not the best way to deepen democracy.
And the issue of tear gas
is even worse. It's even worse. It's a way of demonstrating political arrogance.
And on the tear gas,
political arrogance. And then when you now see people protesting, there are senior citizens among those people who are protesting yesterday. You cannot say that somebody who want to rule Nigeria as president, who was present among the people protesting yesterday, Wole Adebayo, that is not a senior citizen of this country. He was among those tear gas yesterday. Is condemnable. It's not something that you will applaud. Our lawmakers are turning to tyrants, and they must be called to order. That they are not the one. They are not our rule. They are not our lead. They are not our rulers. The citizens own this country. They are not the one that own this country. They are elected to represent us, and when they are not representing us very well, we must say it loud and clear that they are dictators, and we don't want dictators in democracy.
So, Teve Tiaf, the National Assembly, like I said earlier, had their way yesterday, and like is allowed in every democracy, they decided not to allow the minority have their say by seeing to the tear gassing of innocent citizens, women, aged, senior citizens protesting outside.
Amechi, good morning to you. Good morning, listener. The protests by different groups have been on for some days. Only when you think the Nigerian police force and other security agencies are beginning to learn lessons from our past, you see them come out in a way to discredit themselves and put themselves again in such a bad light. it's completely.
Were they not acting on instructions?
Even that's what I'm saying. Even the other days that they were protesting and they didn't tear gas anybody, we were not acting on instructions. They were acting on instructions, So it's sad. It's sad. I hope that the National Human Rights Commission has taken note of this. When they bring global bodies, apart from the National Human Rights, come up with reports on the state of human rights, the state of democracy in Nigeria, they start rating us low and all. We start shouting, these are the things. These things that affect common people on the streets, and all of that.
Even the image of the country. The image of the country.
It's very sad. There was no reason. There was practically no reason for that. And the Inspector General of Police, since the open query over, when the president told him, Makodi, I expected that they should have been arrested over the killings in Yelwata. The man has withdrawn to his office. You hardly hear him, you hardly see him, you hardly, but this is completely what it should not be. And those who were also tear gas in that way and manner, they should also, not just the National Human Rights Commission taking notice of it, they should, as a matter of right, put up a petition against the Nigerian police force, make claims. Nothing stops them from going to enforce their rights. I think what also happens is when they tear gas you and you go back home, you lament on radio, you lament on the pages of papers, you talk to people and all of that, it continues. But if there is a conscious effort of people, putting up petitions, demanding, compensation for such. When the police thinks or the government thinks about the consequences of such actions, perhaps they may have, a rethink and want to behave in a democratic way that it should be. What happened? The floor of both the Senate and the House of Reps. I'm so sad that the issue took a partisan dimension. And when APC was heading towards two-thirds majority in the National Assembly, that was a concern a lot of people were having, that when it gets to moments like this, they can just, do what they want, and get away with it. But it's sad. At moments like this, what you do is you look for, this one is not bipartisan because we have more than one party, multi-party, consensus, moving forward. Yesterday, some of them were arguing, the motion was seconded by a PDP person, and all of that. But in the voting process, what did we see? And I saw what should not have happened. When the president of the Senate said senators should stand up, to be counted and all of that, he also stood up. And that is wrong. The presiding officer only casts a ballot
when there's a tie.
It's wrong. And by virtue of him standing up and that counting, that makes that vote invalid. But I hope people will take a look at it. If I had so much interest in the letter, I would have gone to court.
So the other day, you were complaining that in the initial time the Senate passed, Abaribe was complaining that he didn't hear what they were discussing. After, within 25 seconds, passed the motion, seconded it, put it to vote, ruled, and struck the gavel. Yesterday in the House, some opposition members were raising point of order. We agreed here, recall, that day, that once a presiding officer hears point of order, you should stop to hear that point of order. But yesterday, the deputy speaker of the House of Representatives, again, undermining and violating every known democratic and parliamentary principle, continued and proceeded with putting the questions when shouts of point of order rented the air. Well, Sholaja Simi, thank you for joining us today. I wasn't so much angry with what happened in the National Assembly yesterday because I said it's democracy. They have had their way.
You were not angry, but you were sad.
I was sad. I contained my anger. I said, it's politics. Let them do it. But I know there are consequences.
Yes, there are.
Both immediate, mid-term, and long-term. And all of us in this country will live to see the consequences. So that is aside. The one that kept slipped away from me was the tear gas they use on peaceful protesters. It shows that they're intolerant, they have had their way, they have refused to guarantee citizens' rights, because it's the Constitution that gives the right to free protest. You know, non-violent protest. They rape the Constitution by that action, and it's something that leaves a sour taste on my mouth.
It's unfortunate that if people are peacefully protesting, that you tear gas them. It's unfortunate. We've said it. It's not new. The right to peaceful, I'm emphasizing that word deliberately, the right to peaceful protest is guaranteed in our Constitution. If people get violent, you must curb the violence. But if people are peacefully protesting with placards, with anything they have written on there, on whatever they're holding, and even if they seem agitated, but they're not causing chaos to anybody, it's a peaceful protest. So that's a heavy thumbs down for whoever led the team that went to, either the ones who are stationed at National Assembly, I'm talking about security operatives, or whoever, whatever team may have been deployed there. All of them, a huge thumbs down for them, because you do not do that. People can say what they need to say, protesting, but once it is peaceful, you just allow them, do what they need to do. If it gets out of hand, you curb that thing so that it doesn't spiral.
Because if we stifle peaceful protest, stop people from expressing themselves, they may resort to illegitimate means of doing that, and it serves nobody any good.
Which will become violence, and there will be altercations, fracas, and all of that. Just in the National Assembly? No. They're also outside the National Assembly. There are not a few who want to shut the mouth of everybody who doesn't align with their views. And that's not democracy. Democracy is, divergent opinion, consensus building, and majority having their way because of the number of votes they have. Going to the chambers now. What the National Assembly members did yesterday, and they stood up and they were counted. They were counted where? In their own corner. Tevye raised the point. I would like to go through, if I make that strong comment, whether in the Senate rules, whether the Senate president allow the votes to be...
No, let him land.
So I want to, before I
allow the votes to be...
To be counted before he shows his own, where his hand lies. I don't know. We need to check the rules so that when we know, we'll now know whether, he did the wrong thing. But we don't.
It's only when there's a time.
Yeah, when there's a, it's clear. I think it's specified in the Constitution. It's clear.
In the Constitution or in the House rules?
No, I think it's
all the places.
I think it's in the Constitution.
Okay, so that as it may, we're not unaware. Right from when Mr. Akpabio stood on that podium in 2022 and said, all my supporters, please vote for Asiwaju at that presidential primary of the APC. And, we heard, and it became confirmed that he had been promised the seat of the Senate president. And when he got onto the seat itself, he said, the videos are there, that whatever the president wants, he gets. So he has not told us whether all of this is being...
Was it him that said it? Was it Ahmed Lawan for Buhari?
He also said the same thing. That what the president needs a jet, he gets a jet. Whatever he needs, it was really this time now. So the thing is clear that it's clearly an APC agenda.
Yeah.
And the president symbolizes the APC at this time because he's the leader, so to say, of the APC. What the president wants, he gets. So we're not surprised. Because when they go on this road of whatever, they may have thought that Nigerians are not very wise. But look at Bayo Boduri here. He was in the trenches,
fighting for the restoration of democracy.
So,
and those ordering the tear gassing of innocent citizens were enjoying themselves at that period.
How many of them were even, some of them were in their cozy offices as young executives there. Some were in the bush as teachers before they go into assembly. So we don't need to name call people. People are now in public office. They should do things that they will think of posterity. All that has occurred around this piece of legislation shows that power is very, very, very solid. Some people say, IBB told us, some of us can remember, he said, we are not only in government,
we are in power.
We are in power. So if those who say they are Democrats are operating along those lines, then we know that they're in for a very, very interesting.
Okay, I always advise those in power to use it minimally. The moment those in power uses utilizing their power maximally, it tells you a lot. It tells you a lot. When you resort to optimal use of power, there's always a consequence. Let me stop there. We'll go for a break. When we come back, want to add something?
Let me add something on this power thing. You know, people must realize the fact that power is transcendent. As a young man growing up in Kano, I was not a journalist then. I was a student. And the then military governor of Kano deported, and I'm using that word consciously, he deported the Daily Times correspondent, Femi Ogunleye. He deported him from Kano. That is exercise of power. What did Ogunleye did? They commissioned.
Which of the governors, sir?
Audu Bako.
Okay, Bako.
They commissioned a dam. 48 hours after the commissioning of the dam collapsed. Ogunleye, as a reporter, went back to that dam and did a story. He became enraged. He gave him 12 hours to pack his property and leave Kano.
Audu Bako was a military.
Was military of state, the first military governor of Kano.
Military governor.
And then a year after, there was a coup. And all his property, including the one he acquired before he became governor of Kano State, was seized on the order of the Supreme Military Council of Murtala Muhammad. Then here is Femi Ogunleye. Daily Times rewarded him. He has become deputy news editor of Daily Times, the biggest newspaper in Africa then. And he has no other place to go than the Daily Times. And he's Audu Bako face to face with Femi Ogunleye. You are here. You are the one I'm meeting. Please help me. I'm in trouble. That shows you the transcendency of power.
He wanted the media to come to his protection.
The person he met in Daily Times office was Femi Ogunleye, who has been compensated and promoted by the Daily Times. So people should learn from this arrogance of power.
Yes.
It is transcendent.
He's a visitor.
Section
he could visit Tebe tomorrow. I don't want him to visit you, Tebe. Power.
When he comes, we'll know what to do with it. Section 56 of the 1999 Constitution as amended said, except as otherwise provided by this Constitution, any question proposed for decision in the Senate or House of Representatives shall be determined by the required majority or the members present and voting. And the person presiding shall cast a vote whenever necessary to avoid an equality of votes, but shall not vote in any other case.
Thumbs up.
So the Senate President, if anybody, any interested party who has locus goes to court to challenge the action of the Senate, the judiciary will interpret. And when Bayo Bodori, the Balogo, speaks with so much passion about our democracy, I'm trying to provide a background because, like I said, he fought for democracy. He was hounded by the military. He was arrested by the military. He was crisscrossing the country with security agencies on his trail. He will go by night bus. They will smuggle him from Abuja to Lagos. He will go to the northern part of the country to evade them and all that. So he understands the price of our democracy. But those of them that are toying with our democracy, where were they when these things were happening? But history is there to remind them, and we have done so this morning. Let's go on a break. When we come back, Richard is here with your meals. Stay with us.
Good morning, Nigerians. You're now listening to the mail segment on Political Platform. I am Aricha Ujiti. First mail coming from Dixon Eka in Abuja says, the betrayal of public trust that took place at the House of Representatives yesterday, after Nigerian citizens have clapped for them and praised them for making provision for the electronic transfer of electoral results real time, is such an embarrassment to ridiculously murder the APC and public trust in Nigeria. What is the APC afraid of? The party that has almost all the state governors, senators, House of Rep members, and former governors and ministers shouldn't be afraid of provisions that may enhance public trust in our electoral system. The manner in which Akpabio throws the question is so ridiculous. With the current embarrassing amendments, there is no difference between the existing Electoral Act and the so-called amended one, and there is no need wasting time on it. President Tinubu shouldn't withhold assets to enable INEC prepare with the existing 40 Electoral Act, since APC doesn't want improvement in our electoral jurisprudence. This is what happens when the government of the day has the ruling class, but the masses are not with them. It is a shame before the international community. Emmanuel Ede, writing from Madala, says, it is highly disappointing that the House of Representatives have reversed the electoral bill, which was passed by it on the 23rd of December 2025, on the compulsory transmission of elections result in real time. Is it that the members of the lower chamber are afraid of winning elections come 2027? The confidence of Nigerians on the credibility of our elections is going down. My advice to the president and the government of APC is to revisit this electoral act and do the needful before 2027 general election in order to restore confidence and avoid chaos in the country. Taking out that Gogo, writing from Rivers State, says, I must commend the patriotism shown by the 15 senators who boldly stood up for Nigerians by opposing the passage of the current Electoral Act amendment. History would forever remember you as true representatives of the Nigerian populace. However, questions must also be asked about the commitment of the absentee senators and their duty to their constituents. Because if we have 70 senators voting, plus Senate President, which is 71 senators present, I believe a few senators are dead. It means 36 or so absentee senators left their constituents stranded by not voting. Even if they voted in favor of the amendment bill, their absence makes a mockery of the whole institution of democracy, because democracy is a representative government. Imagine if it was 35 senators who voted in favor and 35 senators who voted against the amendment. Would the Senate president be willing to split the vote? How would those senators who are against the bill but were still absent yesterday feel today? How often do we see members of the US Senate or US Congress or even the UK Parliament staging walkouts, despite how sharply divided they are ideologically? What they do is to divide the House and do a numerical count, and any possible drama is ended. Pastor Yusuf Moses, writing from Ogun State, says, I want to officially and openly declare to Nigerians that our problems in this country is our leaders and the Nigerians that are blindly following and supporting them. I make this conclusion today as a result of the issue of electoral reform bills that have become a public discourse in the National Assembly and civil society groups. If there is sincerity on the side of our leaders, why is real-time transmission of results during elections become a problem? I believe if the real-time transmission of election results is upheld, the world will know that Nigeria has come of age and that our elections are credible, free, and fair. The leaders that will emerge from such elections will be popular and receive the backing of the majority of Nigerians. And now ask our leaders this question: are you afraid of credible, free, and fair elections? Our leaders must be reminded that the world is watching a display of shame and childishness. We should not allow other world leaders refer to Nigeria as a country of disgrace anymore. Ugochukwu Godwin, writing from Lagos, says, we love drama and playing to the gallery. It has never helped our polity. As Abulu said, Nigeria is a secular state. In 2003, INEC conducted elections on Holy Saturday and Easter Sunday in few polling booths, even when Catholic bishops complained. If we start to have these antecedents, then traditional worshippers will also protest. Religion is personal. Ethnicity and religion has kept Nigeria in the doldrums. India has the highest ethnic group, but they don't play this kind of sentiments. If you catch a big man that is alleged to have stolen, the outcry is always, why are you prosecuting him because he's from our region? What of the other person from the other regions? It is not about making the society better. For how long? The politician and religious leaders keep creating this divisive tension, and we keep falling for it. There may be more Muslims than Christians, even in INEC. And finally, Manon Kama, writing from Gowon Estate, Alimosho, Lagos, says, please permit me to observe that Wayata being former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, fights dirty and accuses the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, of importing into Nigeria poisonous chemicals, are all weighty allegations, dangerous and serious offenses. This is because tapping the security advisor of Nigerians' phone conversation presents danger to the security of the entire country. Even tapping of the phone conversations of an individual is morally and fundamentally wrong and unlawful, not to talk of that of the National Security Advisor, NSA. Sadly enough, all these back and forth claims are mere political because if he, El-Rufai, was still with them, would not be hearing all of these stories. Let these allegations and confessions of El-Rufai be investigated, and if found to be true with valid evidence, let there be necessary sanctions on how his actions can affect the opposition party. He's not representing the opposition party, so he's solely responsible for the consequences of his actions, if any, and not the party. Here's imploring the feuding parties to concentrate on how to mitigate the growing insecurity in Nigeria, claiming lives of innocent citizens on a daily basis, rather than dissipating energy on selfish political vendetta. Oh, Nigeria, giant of Africa, show yourself. And indeed, that is all we can take on your mails today. Keep sending your mails with your name and where you're writing from to politicalplatform@dargroup.com.
Thank you so much for the mails. It's a special day for Nigerians today. Today is Ash Wednesday, the beginning of a 40-day Lenten fast period for Christians. It's also the first day of Ramadan. So it's rare for such for a 1 month, one lunar month of fasting for Muslims. It's a holy period for everybody. If we are indeed religious as we claim, there will be no crime in Nigeria between now and the next 40 years. If we are truly children of God and Allah as we profess. But we hope we'll get there. But talking about the fast period, the National Assembly also yesterday amended the Electoral Act, reducing the period for which INEC must give the date of the election to 300 days rather than 360 days. Because based on the 360 days, INEC announced February 20 and masses as dates for presidential and governorship election, but they have now lowered the time. So expect presidential election around 27th of January, last week of January. They want to do it before we get into the fasting period. Well, we're out of time. Adebado doesn't have any time to say goodbye, so I'm saying it on his behalf. We'll be here tomorrow for another edition. My name is Amici Anokwe.